The most profound gifts in life are rarely wrapped in comfort. We spend so much of our lives chasing ease, pursuing pleasure, and diligently building walls to shield ourselves from anything that might cause even a flicker of discomfort. We are taught, implicitly and explicitly, that happiness is the absence of pain, that success means a smooth, uninterrupted ascent, and that a life well lived is one where suffering is meticulously avoided. We seek the soft landings, the gentle breezes, the calm seas, but then, inevitably, life intervenes. The ground gives way beneath our feet. The storm hits with unexpected ferocity. The edifice we meticulously constructed, brick by painstaking brick, crumbles, revealing not the expected sanctuary but a raw, unsettling void. It's in these moments of utter, unvarnished pain, the searing agony of betrayal, the gut-wrenching ache of loss, the silent devastation of a dream deferred, or the crushing weight of systemic injustice, that we often feel utterly lost, utterly alone, utterly broken. We curse the darkness, rail against the injustice, and yearn with a desperate, all-consuming longing for things to simply return to normal. But what if normal was precisely what was holding you back? What if the very pain you're experiencing, the very shattering of your old world, is not a punishment, but a profound, albeit brutal, invitation? What if, hidden deep within the heart of your most agonizing moments, lies a gift so transformative, so potent, that it holds the key to a future more authentic, more resilient, and ultimately, more deeply fulfilling than anything you could have imagined in the illusion of your comfortable past? This isn't about romanticizing suffering, not by any stretch. It's about recognizing its often unseen power to strip away the superfluous, to burn away the inauthentic, and to reveal the undeniable bedrock of who you truly are when all the external adornments are stripped away. Think of the diamond, forged not in placid waters, but in the unimaginable pressure and heat deep within the Earth's core. It is the very intensity of that crucible that transforms a mere carbon deposit into something of unparalleled brilliance and unyielding strength. We are no different. When life subjects us to its own profound pressures, when it introduces us to the searing heat of unbearable pain, it is not an act of malice. It is an act of alchemical transformation, a powerful, albeit painful, process that purifies, refines, and brings forth the unyielding brilliance of your spirit. Consider the legendary figures we admire. Abraham Lincoln, whose life was a litany of personal tragedies, political defeats, and crushing disappointments before he ever stood on the precipice of leadership, found his strength not in avoiding these blows, but in integrating them, in letting them deepen his understanding of humanity and forge his resolve. Walt Disney faced bankruptcy, was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination, and endured countless rejections before building an empire of dreams. These aren't stories of unblemished ascent. They are sagas of profound engagement with adversity, of finding unexpected strength precisely where weakness was presumed, and of discovering profound gifts hidden within the most painful of setbacks. These journeys remind us that the moments of profound pain are not the end of your story, but often the fiercely necessary, albeit uncomfortable, beginning of something far more authentic, far more resilient, and far more aligned with your true, magnificent potential. This radical reframe of hardship, this audacious search for the gift, requires a fundamental shift in mindset, the mindset you adopt when confronted with the stark, often brutal, reality of profound pain is not merely a philosophical inclination. It is the absolute pivot point between perpetual despair and profound, courageous recreation. Most of us are conditioned, from childhood, to view setbacks, losses, and emotional agony as definitive evidence of our inadequacy, as irrefutable proof that we are somehow broken, flawed, or intrinsically incapable. This victim mentality, often born from a lifetime of societal conditioning and personal disappointments, is the most insidious, debilitating barrier to genuine healing and transformative growth. It keeps us tethered to the past, endlessly replaying the narrative of what was lost, rather than courageously stepping into the boundless potential of what can be. But what if we could radically reframe that moment of collapse, that searing agony, not as a final, crushing condemnation, but as an undeniable call to awaken? What if it's the universe, in its infinite wisdom, screaming, "Pay attention. This path, this old story, this outdated paradigm is no longer serving your highest good. It's time to find a new way." This is the very essence of Napoleon Hill's timeless, empowering philosophy, reimagined for the modern soul. Every adversity, no matter how profound, every heartbreak, no matter how deep, every temporary defeat, no matter how crushing, carries within its very core the undeniable seed of an equivalent or even greater benefit. It demands an active, proactive stance, a deliberate, conscious choice to shift from passively receiving circumstances to actively, powerfully shaping your internal reality, your interpretation of events, and ultimately, your emotional landscape. When you are plunged into the depths of emotional pain, the first, almost involuntary instinct is often self-pity, overwhelming resentment, or a desperate, feverish search for blame, either internally, within yourself, or externally, in the actions of others, or the perceived unfairness of the world. But precisely this moment of profound discomfort, is when you must exercise your most potent, most revolutionary power, the power of conscious choice over your thoughts, your reactions, and your interpretations. You cannot always choose your circumstances. Life will inevitably throw curveballs, storms, and devastating losses your way, but you always, unequivocally, retain the power to choose your response to those circumstances. This isn't about forced positivity, a saccharine denial of valid pain. It's about radical realism, a profound engagement with your current reality. It's about bravely acknowledging the searing pain, the immense grief, the paralyzing fear, and then, with profound self-compassion and conscious intent, asking yourself, with genuine curiosity, what can I learn from this? How can this agonizing experience forge me into something demonstrably stronger, infinitely wiser, profoundly more capable, and deeply more empathetic? This requires a deliberate, consistent, daily practice of auditing your thoughts, relentlessly challenging the self-defeating, often automatic narratives that surface and threaten to consume you. Are you telling yourself you're a permanent failure, irrevocably broken, or are you recognizing that you are in a crucial, albeit painful, learning phase, a profound crucible of transformation? Are you endlessly lamenting what's irrevocably lost, or are you consciously, deliberately focusing on what remains, on the invaluable wisdom gained, and on the fertile ground that has now been cleared for new, vibrant growth? Consider the profound, almost unimaginable wisdom and resilience of Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor who, in the depths of unimaginable suffering and dehumanization, found that the last human freedom, the one thing that could never be taken from him, was the freedom to choose his attitude, his internal response. In any given set of horrific circumstances, he understood that even when stripped of absolutely everything external, the internal world remained a sacred, inviolable domain of personal choice and profound agency. This isn't a passive acceptance of your fate. It's an active, deliberate cultivation of an internal landscape where challenges are seen as powerful catalysts for growth, and breakdowns are courageously recognized as breakthroughs in profound disguise. This radical shift in mindset, from a narrative of scarcity and lack to one of abundant potential and inherent strength, from a victim consciousness to the powerful stance of an architect, lays the absolute bedrock for cultivating an unshakable belief in your own boundless capacity for radical, transformative renewal. Belief is not a flimsy, ephemeral hope, a mere fleeting desire for things to be better. It is a profound internal conviction, an unshakable, deep-seated knowing, an absolute certainty in your core that your innate ability to overcome challenges, to adapt to change, and to create a more authentic, fulfilling life is vastly, immeasurably greater than any obstacle, any loss, or any setback you will ever face. When you've experienced the seismic, shattering force of your story, seemingly ending. Your old, comforting beliefs about security, about predictability, about your own capabilities, and perhaps even about your very identity can be brutally shattered, leaving a profound void. This void, while initially terrifying, an empty space where certainty once resided, is also an unprecedented, sacred opportunity to courageously forge new beliefs. Beliefs that are deeply rooted in hard-won resilience, undeniable inner strength, and the boundless, untapped potential of the indomitable human spirit that has been tested and tempered in the fires of adversity. Think of Thomas Edison, whose arduous path to inventing the practical light bulb was famously paved not with easy victories, but with thousands of what most people would label failures. If his belief had wavered after the first 100, or even the first 1,000 times he couldn't get a filament to glow reliably, if he had succumbed to the crushing weight of disappointment, the world would have remained plunged in relative darkness for much longer. His unwavering belief in his ultimate, audacious vision allowed him to perceive each setback not as a definitive end, a permanent stop sign, but as crucial, invaluable data, a temporary detour, a stepping stone, or simply another essential step closer to the ultimate solution. He didn't believe in failure as a final state. He believed through it, understanding it as a necessary part of the iterative process of creation for someone courageously emerging from the emotional wreckage and profound emptiness left by their story's abrupt interruption. Cultivating this kind of radical, unshakable belief means actively, systematically, and relentlessly dismantling the limiting, often insidious narratives that trauma and loss meticulously construct within our minds. It means deliberately replacing the insidious whisper of "I am broken beyond repair," permanently flawed with the powerful, resonating, truth-filled declaration, "I am bravely, powerfully rebuilding, meticulously forging myself anew from the wisdom of my experiences." It means consciously replacing the paralyzing fear and self-doubt of "I can't possibly do this." It's too hard with the empowering, unwavering, truth-filled declaration, "I am capable of far more than I currently know, more than I've ever demonstrated, especially now that I have been tested, tempered, and refined in the crucible of adversity." This isn't about conjuring a false, naive, or saccharine optimism, a superficial cheerfulness that denies the profound reality of your pain. It's about a deeply honest, rigorously realistic assessment of your inherent inner resources, those latent strengths and untapped reserves that are often hidden, dormant, or unrecognized until crisis, with its brutal honesty, forces them to the brilliant, shining surface of your awareness. It's a deep, deeply personal commitment to your own limitless potential, a conscious, unwavering, and audacious decision to see yourself not as a permanent victim of circumstance, forever defined by what happened to you, but as a courageous survivor, an emerging thriver, an evolving, adaptable being capable of truly extraordinary acts of self-creation, resilience, and profound transformation. This cultivation of belief requires profound intentionality, a diligent, consistent, daily effort. It's like tending a sacred garden within your soul. You must assiduously water the tender seeds of hope and possibility, meticulously weed out the persistent, invasive doubts and fears, and compassionately prune away the narratives of despair that threaten to choke out new, vibrant growth. This might involve powerful, daily affirmations that reprogram your subconscious, vividly visualizing your next magnificent chapter with sensory richness, or deliberately immersing yourself in the inspiring, empowering stories of others who have courageously overcome seemingly insurmountable hardships, drawing strength from their journeys. Each small act of intentional belief sends a powerful, clear, and consistent signal to your subconscious mind, diligently rewiring your neural pathways and meticulously creating a fertile, receptive ground for genuine, profound, and lasting transformation. This unwavering belief in your inherent strength and your boundless capacity for radical renewal then naturally, organically, and irresistibly paves the way for a newfound, illuminating clarity, Clarity doesn't typically descend upon us in a dazzling flash of divine inspiration, an instantaneous revelation that magically untangles all confusion and provides every answer. Instead, it often emerges slowly, sometimes painstakingly, like the gradual, deliberate lifting of a dense, suffocating fog, meticulously revealing the intricate contours of the landscape that rock bottom initially obscured. When the narrative of your life is shattered, when the familiar script is abruptly torn away, the immediate aftermath is characterized by profound disorientation. The old maps are suddenly useless, the familiar landmarks have vanished, and the once clear, predictable path forward is now shrouded in an impenetrable mist, leaving you feeling utterly lost and adrift. But it is precisely in this state of radical uncertainty, this uncomfortable void left by the dismantling of familiar structures and outdated beliefs, that the deepest, most authentic, and most profoundly liberating clarity can be forged. Because when everything external falls away, when the overwhelming noise of societal expectation, external validation, and superficial pursuits is finally silenced, you are brutally, yet beautifully, forced to look inward, to confront what truly, deeply matters, stripped bare of all pretense, all masks, and all external pressures. This isn't about finding external answers, a magic bullet solution to your problems. It's about embarking on a courageous, often challenging, yet ultimately illuminating journey of profound self-discovery, unearthing fundamental internal truths that were always there, residing deep within your core, waiting to be acknowledged and embraced. Think of the legendary Stoic philosophers, like Seneca, who, amidst the often turbulent chaos and immense pressures of imperial life, relentlessly sought profound clarity through unwavering introspection, understanding that true peace, genuine resilience, and lasting wisdom came from deeply understanding oneself, one's intrinsic values, and one's place in the vast, interconnected universe, rather than fruitlessly trying to control the uncontrollable, ever-shifting external events of life. For those bravely rebuilding their stories from the profound disruption of perceived endings, this arduous, yet ultimately illuminating, journey to clarity begins with fearless, compassionate self-inquiry. What parts of your life, what chapters of your narrative, were you living out of sheer obligation, external pressure, a desperate need for approval, or a superficial pursuit of what others deemed successful? What comforting illusions did you cling to, even when they silently corroded your spirit, depleting your authentic self? What core values, perhaps long dormant or unrecognized, have now been brutally yet brilliantly brought to the forefront by your crucible experience, screaming for your attention? This self-assessment is not an exercise in harsh judgment, debilitating self-blame, or relentless self-criticism. It's an act of radical honesty, profound self-compassion, and unwavering acceptance of your human experience. It's about bravely acknowledging the past, extracting its invaluable lessons with meticulous care, understanding how it shaped you, and then, with conscious intent and profound liberation, releasing the suffocating grip of what can no longer authentically serve you or your evolving future. Clarity after trauma is often a powerful distillation, a profound purification of purpose, a refinement of your very essence. It's realizing that the superfluous, the inauthentic, the distracting, and the ultimately unfulfilling have been brutally, yet ultimately beneficially, stripped away, leaving only the essential, the authentic, the deeply resonant core of who you truly are. This newfound, piercing clarity then acts as your unwavering internal compass, meticulously guiding you towards your authentic self, illuminating the true nature of your deepest strengths, and revealing the genuine, soul-aligned direction of your next magnificent chapters. It transforms vague, amorphous desires into concrete, compelling intentions, allowing you to vividly see the true nature of your inherent strengths and the authentic, magnetic direction of your evolving soul. This crystal-clear understanding of what you truly want, what truly matters, and what you are now truly capable of, even after profound disruption, naturally, organically, and irresistibly leads to the emergence of a powerful, compelling vision. A truly compelling vision is not a passive, ethereal daydream, a whimsical fantasy that merely flits through your mind in moments of idle escape. It is a vividly imagined, emotionally resonant, and profoundly compelling future, so richly detailed, so deeply felt, and so powerfully inspiring that it begins to exert an almost irresistible magnetic pull, drawing you inexorably forward. Even when the present feels overwhelmingly heavy, the path ahead seems daunting, or the insidious echoes of the past attempt to drag you back into their familiar shadows. When you've experienced the shattering force of your story seemingly ending, when the old script has been abruptly torn away, it can be incredibly difficult, almost impossible, to even conceive of a positive, fulfilling future, let alone visualize it with the precise, vibrant clarity required to bring it into being. The natural human tendency is to gaze backward, fixated on what was lost, endlessly replaying past events, or to stare paralyzed at the immediate wreckage, the present despair. But this is precisely the moment when the courageous, audacious act of creating a new, compelling vision becomes most absolutely critical, most profoundly empowering. It's the intricate, architectural blueprint for your magnificently rebuilt life, drawn not from the haunting ruins of what was, but from the fertile, newly cleared, and enriched ground of your hard-won clarity, a ground now purified and strengthened by the invaluable lessons of adversity. Think of the visionary urban planners who, after devastating fires or catastrophic wars, didn't merely rebuild what was lost, didn't simply reconstruct the familiar, the mundane. They audaciously reimagined entire cities, creating spaces that were demonstrably more resilient, breathtakingly more beautiful, infinitely more functional, and profoundly more aligned with the evolving needs and aspirations of their people than anything that existed before. Their vision was a bold, audacious leap of faith, painstakingly translated into concrete, actionable plans, transforming destruction into unparalleled opportunity for those courageously constructing a new, vibrant future from the raw, unyielding foundation of rock bottom. This new vision must be profoundly personal, exquisitely detailed, and deeply, emotionally resonant. It is emphatically not about what others expect of you, or what society dictates success should look like, or what external validation you might desperately crave in a moment of vulnerability. It's about what truly, authentically ignites your spirit. What kind of life, what kind of fully actualized, magnificent person you genuinely, deeply aspire to be. Now, armed with the profound wisdom, the piercing clarity, and the unyielding strength gleaned from your crucible experience, what does true well-being feel like for you? Now, with the profound understanding and emotional maturity gained from enduring profound pain, what kind of deeply nourishing, authentic, and supportive relationships do you meticulously cultivate? What unique, meaningful, and heartfelt contributions do you profoundly make to the world, born from your unique journey and newfound empathy? What kind of unshakable inner peace do you consistently cultivate, regardless of the ever-shifting, unpredictable external circumstances? Make this vision as breathtakingly specific and sensory as humanly possible. Don't just think it. Feel it. Feel the emotional resonance, the surge of anticipation, the palpable sense of inner peace. See it. Vividly visualize the details, the colors, the expressions on faces, the light in your own eyes. Hear it. The sounds of laughter, of productive, meaningful work, of serene silence, of deeply connected conversations. Taste it. The flavors of a life well lived, savored with profound gratitude and mindful presence. Smell it. The comforting aromas of home, of nature, of creative endeavor, of fresh possibilities. This vivid, immersive internal rehearsal, this consistent mental blueprinting, creates a powerful, almost irresistible magnetic force, meticulously drawing opportunities, essential resources, and profound insights towards you, almost as if the universe itself is conspiring in your favor, aligning to bring your vision into magnificent being. It serves as a constant, unwavering reminder, a powerful internal compass of why you are courageously enduring the challenging, often emotionally exhausting work of recovery. why you are consistently choosing courage over comfort, and why your story not only deserves, but demands to be bravely, audaciously continued. This compelling, richly detailed vision, deeply rooted in your clarified values and authentic self, is what then gives rise to an unshakable, deeply felt purpose. Purpose isn't some esoteric, grand, elusive concept, an abstract idea reserved exclusively for saints, towering revolutionaries, or globally recognized philanthropists. It is, at its most fundamental, the intrinsic, animating drive that gives profound meaning and resonant direction to our very existence. The steady, unwavering flame that continues to burn brightly and reliably, even when the fiercest, most tumultuous winds of adversity howl, threatening to extinguish all light and hope. When you face the devastating, disorienting force of your story seemingly ending, when the old, comfortable narrative has been abruptly and brutally torn away, your old sense of purpose, often intricately tied to external achievements, societal roles, external validation, or superficial markers of success, may have been brutally shattered, leaving a gaping, aching void, a profound feeling of aimlessness, disconnection, and existential emptiness. But this very void, this uncomfortable, terrifying emptiness, paradoxically presents an unparalleled, sacred opportunity to discover a deeper, more profound, and ultimately more resilient purpose, one that resonates authentically with the very core of who you are, rather than who you were merely expected to be by others, or who you superficially pretended to be. It's about understanding, with piercing clarity, that your unique life, with all its inherent challenges, its moments of profound sorrow, its undeniable scars, and its ultimate triumphs, has inherent, unquantifiable meaning, and that your unique, hard-won experiences, particularly those born of adversity, uniquely equip you to make a profound difference in ways that no one else in this vast, interconnected world can. Think of individuals like Harriet Tubman, born into the unimaginable brutality of slavery, experiencing profound physical and emotional trauma, yet driven by an unshakable inner conviction and a profound sense of justice. She transformed her own suffering into an indomitable purpose, leading hundreds of others to freedom via the Underground Railroad, becoming a beacon of hope and liberation against overwhelming odds. Her purpose wasn't pre-assigned or dictated by external forces. It was profoundly discovered, forged in the crucible of her own suffering and her unwavering will to fight for the dignity and freedom of others. For those courageously navigating the complex, often treacherous aftermath of trauma and profound loss, discovering this deeply authentic purpose often involves a radical, empowering shift in inquiry, a profound reorientation of your internal compass, from the victim-oriented question, "Why did this happen to me?" to a more empowering, forward-looking, and purposeful contemplation. What now? How can I bravely, compassionately, and intentionally use this experience? How can my journey, with all its raw honesty and hard-won wisdom, illuminate a path for others, offering them hope and guidance? It's emphatically not about finding a reason for the trauma itself, which would be a denial of valid suffering and a dangerous rationalization of immense pain. It's about courageously finding profound, transformative meaning from it, extracting the invaluable lessons, transmuting pain into enduring wisdom, and transforming suffering into profound power. This could manifest as an unshakable commitment to helping others who have faced similar challenges, becoming a compassionate mentor, a powerful advocate, a beacon of hope and understanding in their darkest hours. It might involve passionately advocating for a cause that has been brought to the forefront of your awareness by your experience, lending your voice to the voiceless. It could be pursuing a long dormant creative passion as a profound act of self-expression, healing, and contribution, using your unique artistry to connect with others. Or it might be as simple, yet revolutionary, as dedicating yourself to cultivating an unshakable inner peace and sharing that hard-won serenity and wisdom with your immediate circle, creating a ripple effect of calm, compassion, and positive influence. Your purpose doesn't have to be monumental in the eyes of the world. It doesn't need to be globally recognized or publicly acclaimed. It simply needs to be authentic, deeply resonant, and profoundly meaningful to you, aligning with your core values and deepest desires. It's about aligning your daily actions, your conscious choices, and your deepest values, meticulously creating a life that feels inherently meaningful, profoundly purposeful, and deeply fulfilling. Regardless of external validation or societal applause, this inherent sense of purpose, this unshakable understanding that your life has a clear direction, a profound significance, and an undeniable impact, then becomes the unwavering internal guide, the ultimate compass that empowers you to embrace the transformative power of discipline. Discipline is often tragically misunderstood, particularly in our modern, comfort-seeking world, as a rigid, joyless adherence to austere rules, a cold, unfeeling self-denial, or a burdensome obligation. But true discipline, especially on the winding, arduous, yet ultimately liberating path from the depths of rock bottom to profound, authentic renewal, is in fact an act of the most profound, most compassionate self-love, a meticulous, unwavering commitment to your own holistic well-being, sustained growth, and ultimate liberation. It's the quiet, often unseen, yet fiercely powerful choice to consistently show up for yourself, day after day, in countless, often microscopic ways, even when your emotional energy is utterly depleted, when your spirit feels heavy and burdened, and when the insidious siren song of old, unhealthy coping mechanisms, or the seductive comfort of stagnation beckons with tantalizing promises of ease and escape. It's the quiet, unyielding fortitude that meticulously transforms noble intentions into consistent, tangible action, one deliberate breath, one conscious choice, one small, intentional step at a time. Think of the relentless, almost obsessive, yet deeply passionate training of an Olympic athlete. Their discipline isn't a form of punishment or deprivation. On the contrary, it is the meticulous, loving refinement of their craft, the unwavering dedication to their audacious vision, born from an unshakable, deeply felt belief in their ultimate goal and their own boundless potential. It is an act of deep reverence for their body, their mind, and their cherished dream, for someone bravely rebuilding their story after profound disruption and loss. Discipline might look like a resolute commitment to a consistent, regulated sleep schedule to meticulously regulate a nervous system often thrown into chaos by trauma, restoring its natural rhythm. It could mean showing up for difficult, emotionally raw therapy sessions, even when you feel utterly exposed, vulnerable, and exhausted, understanding that vulnerability is a gateway to healing. It might be dedicating a specific, non-negotiable time each day to mindfulness meditation, quiet contemplation, or journaling, even when your mind feels like a chaotic, swirling whirlwind of unbidden thoughts, seeking to find an anchor in the present moment. It could be as profoundly simple, yet revolutionary, as meticulously preparing nourishing meals for yourself when the temptation is to numb with unhealthy comfort foods, engaging in gentle, intentional movement even when lethargy pulls you down, or courageously setting clear, firm, and compassionate boundaries with individuals or situations that consistently deplete your precious energy. These aren't grand, heroic, publicly acclaimed gestures. They are, in truth, microscopic, yet profoundly powerful acts of deliberate self-care, consistent, intentional choices that meticulously build resilience, patiently rewire neural pathways, and unequivocally reinforce your deep, unwavering commitment to your own healing journey and to the unfolding of your new narrative. The insidious nature of trauma is that it often fragments our focus, saps our willpower, and makes even the simplest, most vital tasks feel overwhelmingly monumental. But it's precisely at these moments, in the quiet, unassuming daily choices, that small, consistent acts of discipline become truly revolutionary. They send a powerful, unequivocal signal to your subconscious mind, to every cell in your body, that you are fiercely serious about your recovery, that you are actively, deliberately taking back control of your narrative, and that you are meticulously, and intentionally building the extraordinary life you envision for yourself. One courageous, consistent action at a time. This dedicated, unwavering commitment to your own profound growth and well-being, then inevitably, almost magnetically, leads to the transformative power of action. Action, that often intimidating, sometimes paralyzing word, is, paradoxically, the most potent, most liberating catalyst for profound transformation, particularly when you're building your new story from the raw, unyielding foundation of rock bottom. We can dwell indefinitely in the quiet, contemplative spaces of reflection, in the meticulous planning stages, in the profound intellectual understanding of our past and present, but without courageously taking tangible steps, even infinitesimally small ones, we remain perpetually tethered to the past, tragically trapped in the suffocating gravitational pull of what was forever mourning the lost chapters. The fear of action after profound setback, after deeply painful experiences, is palpable, almost visceral. We've been grievously hurt, perhaps deeply wounded, and the instinct is to recoil, to retreat into protective solitude, to avoid any situation or any vulnerability that might replicate that searing pain. But inaction, while seemingly offering a deceptive sense of safety, is its own insidious form of decay, a slow, agonizing surrender to stagnation, a quiet death of potential, a gradual erosion of your vibrant spirit. Think of the legendary pioneers of industry. Like Henry Ford, he didn't just conceptualize the revolutionary idea of the assembly line. He tirelessly worked, meticulously experimented, iterated countless times, and relentlessly refined his processes, translating his audacious vision into tangible production. Despite facing numerous setbacks, profound skepticism, and even outright ridicule, his actions, both grand and microscopic, meticulously built an entirely new era, forever changing the way the world worked and lived. For us, the brave authors rewriting our narratives, the action isn't always a grand, heroic leap of faith. It's rarely a sudden, dramatic pivot from profound, debilitating pain to a state of perfect, serene equanimity. More often, it's a quiet, persistent series of micro-actions, each one a tiny, hard-won victory against the overwhelming inertia of despair, a courageous push against the gravitational weight of the past. It could be the profound courage required to reach out to a trusted friend or family member you've unconsciously isolated yourself from, even when your anxiety screams at you to stay hidden in the shadows. It could be sending out just one resume, making just one phone call, completing just one small task, even when the omnipresent fear of rejection feels overwhelming and paralyzing. It could be the audacious act of signing up for a creative class you've always dreamed of, dedicating yourself to pursuing a long dormant hobby that once brought you joy and meaning, or simply walking around the block for 10 minutes when every fiber of your being desperately wants to remain curled on the couch, shrouded in darkness. Each of these actions, no matter how insignificant they may feel in the moment, is a direct, powerful challenge to the paralyzing fear that trauma often instills within us. Each one is an unequivocal vote for your future self, a resounding declaration that you are not merely a survivor of what happened, but an active, empowered participant in your own magnificent evolution, a deliberate co-creator of your next chapter. The profound beauty of taking action, even when you are utterly terrified, is that it intrinsically generates momentum. A body at rest tends to stay at rest, but a body in motion tends to stay in motion. The initial push, the first courageous step, is always the hardest, demanding the most raw courage, the deepest wells of resolve. But once you begin, once you taste the small, hard-won triumphs of forward movement, once you feel the subtle shift of momentum, the next step becomes a little less daunting, a little more accessible, a little more natural. It's about meticulously building a muscle, not just of physical strength, but of profound psychological courage, of unwavering emotional fortitude, of an undeniable, intrinsic sense of agency. This isn't about forcing yourself into a state of relentless, unsustainable activity that leads to burnout. It's about discerning, with clarity and self-compassion, the right, most nourishing actions for your unique healing journey. And then, committing to them with unwavering, disciplined resolve. And as we begin to take these courageous, intentional steps, a powerful, unexpected side effect often emerges, one that seems utterly counterintuitive in the face of profound hardship, yet is deeply transformative. A profound, often overlooked, yet truly revolutionary gratitude. Gratitude, particularly when one is courageously emerging from the raw, desolate depths of rock bottom, can initially feel like an alien concept, a foreign language spoken by those untouched by true hardship, a privilege reserved for the fortunate. How? The wounded mind might reasonably ask, can one possibly be thankful when the world has seemingly conspired against them? When so much has been irrevocably lost? When pain remains an undeniable, constant companion, a heavy shadow on the soul? Yet, it is precisely in these moments of profound, visceral difficulty, in the crucible of your most challenging experiences, that the consistent, deliberate practice of gratitude becomes most potent, most revolutionary, and most profoundly healing, a radical, defiant act against the pervasive narratives of deficit, scarcity, and unending sorrow that trauma often attempts to impose. It is emphatically not about being thankful for the trauma itself. That would be a denial of valid suffering and a profoundly dismissive stance toward your own pain. Instead, it is about cultivating a profound, deliberate awareness of the small, resilient pockets of light that persist, that refuse to be extinguished, even in the deepest, most suffocating darkness, and then recognizing, with unshakable conviction, the unyielding strength that allowed you to perceive them, to notice their gentle flicker amidst the gloom. It's about recognizing the incredible, inherent resilience of the human spirit, your own magnificent spirit, and acknowledging the quiet, often overlooked, acts of kindness, compassion, and shared humanity that so often miraculously emerge in the wake of crisis, proving with undeniable clarity that light always exists, even in the deepest shadows. Consider the ancient Stoic philosophers, like Epictetus, who understood with piercing clarity that true happiness, enduring peace, and profound contentment were not dependent on external circumstances, which are inherently uncontrollable and impermanent, but rather on our internal, conscious response to them, our unwavering choice of perspective, our deliberate interpretation. They vigorously encouraged a daily practice of reflecting on what could be demonstrably worse, and then cultivating a deep, abiding appreciation for what is, even in its imperfect, flawed, and often painful reality, thereby finding pockets of peace within chaos. For us, the brave authors rewriting our stories, this means actively, consciously, and relentlessly seeking out what remains, what has been unexpectedly gained through adversity, or what profound truths and hidden strengths have been brilliantly revealed through the refining fire of our experiences. It might mean being profoundly grateful for the simple, often taken for granted act of waking up each day, for the automatic rhythm of breath in your lungs, for a single, fleeting moment of unexpected peace in a chaotic world, for the unwavering support of a single, compassionate friend, for the inherent, undeniable resilience of your own physical body, or for the painful, yet ultimately invaluable, lessons learned that have forged you into a wiser, more empathetic, and more powerful being. It's a conscious, deliberate, and revolutionary shift in focus, away from the agonizing void of what was irrevocably lost, and towards the undeniable presence of what persists, what courageously thrives, and what has unexpectedly blossomed even amidst the emotional rubble. This isn't about wearing metaphorical rose-tinted glasses or denying the legitimate, searing pain. It's about a deeply realistic, holistic appraisal of reality that intentionally includes the good, the resilient, the beautiful, and the profoundly transformative, not just the broken or the shattered. It's about diligently retraining your brain, rerouting your neural pathways to instinctively seek out and register evidence of goodness, of strength, and of grace, thereby meticulously creating new, more expansive neural architecture that fosters deep well-being and profound inner peace. The overwhelming body of scientific research on gratitude is unequivocally clear and robust. Consistent gratitude significantly improves mood, dramatically reduces stress, fosters greater, more robust resilience, and even demonstrably enhances physical health and longevity. This powerful practice is not a dismissal of your legitimate pain. It's a profound, courageous expansion of your capacity for joy, a deliberate broadening of your emotional spectrum, and an unshakable acknowledgement of the incredible, inherent strength that has miraculously carried you this far and will continue to carry you forward. When you actively, consistently seek out things to be profoundly grateful for, you begin, almost imperceptibly at first, to see life through a radically different lens, one that relentlessly reveals unexpected blessings, hidden opportunities, and resilient strengths, paving the way for profound, transformative adaptability. Adaptability is not merely a desirable trait, a helpful characteristic to possess in times of uncertainty, or a skill to be acquired at one's leisure. It is a fundamental, non-negotiable survival mechanism, an intrinsic capacity for graceful, effective change, and in the often turbulent aftermath of rock bottom, it becomes an absolutely essential, indispensable key to not only rebuilding, but to truly thriving, to flourishing in ways you never before imagined. Life, as we've so painfully, so viscerally learned, rarely, if ever, unfolds according to our meticulously crafted plans, our carefully drawn blueprints, or our most fervent desires for predictability and control. The very essence of hitting rock bottom, of experiencing the abrupt end of a chapter, is an often violent, utterly disorienting departure from the predictable, a shattering of the familiar, a dismantling of the routines that once provided comfort and stability. The old maps you relied upon are suddenly useless. The familiar landmarks have vanished, and the once clear, predictable path forward is now shrouded in an impenetrable mist, leaving you feeling utterly lost and adrift, grappling with profound uncertainty in such a dramatically altered landscape. The rigid, the unyielding, the stubbornly inflexible are often the first to break, like a brittle branch snapped clean off in the violent force of a hurricane, unable to bend with the wind. But those who possess the inherent ability to pivot, who can shed outdated strategies and gracefully embrace new approaches, who can flow like water around insurmountable obstacles, are the ones who not only survive the initial shock, but find entirely new avenues for profound growth, unexpected opportunities, and a more authentic alignment with their true selves. Think of the willow tree in a torrential storm. It doesn't rigidly resist the relentless force of the wind, attempting to stand unmoving against an irresistible power. Instead, it gracefully bends, it sways, it flows with the powerful current of nature, demonstrating a profound, almost spiritual surrender. And through this elegant, adaptable movement, it emerges unbroken, demonstrably stronger, and more deeply rooted for having danced with the very force that threatened to destroy it. Our internal willows, our inherent capacity for profound adaptability, must be meticulously nurtured and deliberately strengthened after profound life disruption. This means courageously letting go of the desperate, white-knuckled grip on how things should be, how your story should have unfolded, clinging to an idealized past, and instead, with radical realism and profound self-compassion, embracing the often uncomfortable, yet ultimately liberating, reality of how they are. It means remaining vibrantly open to new information, new ways of thinking, new paradigms, and even new, evolving identities that emerge from the crucible of your experience. Understanding that growth often demands a shedding of the old self, the comforting, yet potentially suffocating, narrative of who I was can become a powerful prison if we cling to it too tightly, stubbornly preventing the emergence of who I am, powerfully becoming. Adaptability courageously invites us into this transformative journey of continuous self-discovery, a journey that is both inherently challenging and profoundly liberating. This could mean adjusting long-held career paths, bravely reevaluating deeply ingrained relationship dynamics, or even fundamentally shifting our ingrained definitions of success, happiness, or fulfillment. Understanding that these are not static concepts, It demands a radical willingness to experiment, to tentatively try things that feel utterly unfamiliar or uncomfortable, to step outside the perceived boundaries of your comfort zone, and to learn with humble curiosity from both our hard-won successes and our inevitable missteps, knowing that every single outcome, positive or negative, holds an invaluable lesson. It's the visionary entrepreneur who, after a product launch fails spectacularly, doesn't wallow in despair or abandon their dream, but instead meticulously analyzes the data, bravely pivots their strategy, and launches something even better, more refined, more resonant, knowing intuitively that iteration and adaptation are the undeniable path to true innovation and enduring success. It's the wise parent who, after their children leave home, doesn't succumb to the debilitating emptiness of the empty nest, but instead finds new, profound purpose and meaning in their changed role, gracefully adapting to a new, exciting season of life, embracing its inherent possibilities. The profound beauty of adaptability is that it is not about surrendering your core values or sacrificing your authentic identity. It's about finding new, more expansive expressions for them in a changed, ever-evolving world, understanding with piercing clarity that true growth often happens at the very edges of our comfort zone, precisely when we are bravely forced to stretch, to bend, and to profoundly evolve. This mental flexibility, this graceful, courageous surrender to the inevitable flow of life, even when that flow feels turbulent and unpredictable, creates the internal capacity for true, unshakable peace within chaos. And this constant, graceful evolution, this resilient dance with uncertainty, forms the very bedrock of true, enduring resilience. Resilience is not, as often mistakenly believed, the absence of struggle, the eradication of pain, or a magical immunity to life's inevitable hardships. On the contrary, it is the profound, unyielding capacity to recover from it, to bend deeply without breaking entirely, and to ultimately emerge from the crucible of adversity, not merely intact, but demonstrably stronger, infinitely wiser, and more deeply integrated and whole than you were before the storm. It's the spiritual muscle that meticulously develops through repeated exertion, through the arduous, often painful, yet ultimately strengthening, lifting of heavy emotional weights, the crushing weights of grief, of profound disappointment, of paralyzing fear, and of deep-seated trauma. Rock bottom doesn't just test our inherent resilience, it often forces us to develop it in ways we never, in our wildest imaginings, thought possible, pushing us beyond perceived limits into realms of previously untapped strength. Before the storm hit, before the unexpected interruption to your story, you might have been utterly unaware of your own innate fortitude, perhaps mistaking comfort and predictable stability for true, inherent strength. But when the very foundations of your life are violently shaken, when everything familiar, everything you clung to for security, is stripped away, you are brutally, yet beautifully, forced to dig deep, to tap into reserves of courage, inner power, and wisdom you didn't even know existed within you. Think of kintsugi, the ancient Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with lustrous gold lacquer. The profound philosophy behind kintsugi is that the breakage and subsequent repair are not something to be shamefully hidden or artfully concealed. Instead, they are an integral, beautiful part of the object's unique history, and the shimmering, golden seams actually make it more beautiful, more valuable, and more uniquely whole than it was before it was broken, a testament to its endurance. We are, in essence, kintsugi vessels, our scars not grotesque marks of weakness or indelible proof of brokenness, but luminous, shimmering badges of honor, tangible, undeniable testaments to our incredible, inherent ability to mend, to transform, and to become something even more profound, more exquisitely unique. Our cracks, once hidden and feared, become visible, undeniable proof of our boundless capacity to heal, to integrate, and to rise. Building resilience is an ongoing, dynamic process, not a one-time achievement, a fixed destination, or a static state of being. It involves a conscious, unwavering, and deeply compassionate commitment to meticulous self-care, to diligently nurturing our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being with compassionate discipline, day in and day out. It means understanding with crystal clarity that there will be good days and bad days, that healing is not a linear progression, but a complex, winding path with inevitable ebbs and flows, and that setbacks are not catastrophic failures, but simply invaluable opportunities for recalibration, for deeper introspection, and for profound, experiential learning. It's about diligently cultivating a robust internal support system, a relentless, unwavering network of positive self-talk, empowering affirmations, and radical self-compassion that can powerfully counteract the inevitable moments of self-doubt, debilitating fear, and crushing despair that will undoubtedly arise. It also, crucially and fundamentally, involves courageous external support, the profound courage to lean on others, to humbly ask for help when needed, to diligently seek professional guidance from skilled therapists or counselors, and to graciously allow ourselves to be vulnerable, imperfect, and human in the presence of those who genuinely care and hold space for our process. This isn't weakness, it is, in fact, profound, undeniable strength, recognizing that we are interconnected beings, that our healing is often a communal endeavor, and that true power resides in collaboration, not isolation. The lone wolf might appear powerful in romanticized fiction, but in the brutal reality of survival, the pack thrives and endures through mutual aid, shared burdens, and collective strength. Resilience is also deeply and intrinsically tied to our unyielding ability to meticulously extract the invaluable wisdom from the wreckage of our past, to learn every possible lesson from our experiences, however painful or traumatic they may have been. It's about understanding that every challenge, every single adversity, however daunting, carries within it a seed of invaluable knowledge, a profound, transformative lesson waiting to be uncovered, acknowledged, and integrated into the very fabric of our evolving being. This conscious, deliberate extraction of wisdom from adversity meticulously transforms mere survival into true thrival, preparing us not just for the next challenge, but for a lifelong, exhilarating journey of continuous learning. Learning is not a passive reception of information, a mere intellectual exercise of absorbing facts and figures from a textbook or a lecture. It is an active, iterative, profoundly dynamic process of absorption, meticulous reflection, deep integration, and courageous application that continuously fuels our evolution, propelling us forward into ever-expanding realms of self-awareness, personal mastery, and compassionate understanding. When we face the profound, destabilizing force of rock bottom, when our carefully constructed worlds have crumbled, the world itself presents itself as an unforgiving, yet profoundly illuminating classroom filled with unexpected, often brutal, yet ultimately invaluable lessons about ourselves, about the intricate complexities of humanity, and about the fundamental nature of existence itself. The immediate, instinctual temptation might be to shut down, to retreat into the safe, familiar confines of what was, to avoid confronting the very experiences that caused so much searing pain, to simply bury the traumatic memories deep within the subconscious, hoping they will disappear. But true healing, genuine, sustainable growth, and authentic liberation requires us to become diligent, humble, and fiercely curious students of our own lives, embracing every experience, every outcome, every emotion as a potential teacher. It means courageously asking, with genuine, compassionate curiosity, what did this experience truly teach me about myself, about my deeply held beliefs, about my boundaries, about my true, core priorities, about the nature of relationships, about others, about the world? What new, previously undiscovered strengths, what dormant capacities have I bravely discovered within myself that I never knew I possessed before this crucible moment? It's in the careful, compassionate examination of our automatic reactions, our ingrained coping mechanisms, our previously held illusions, and our emerging insights that the deepest, most potent, and most transformative wisdom is meticulously gleaned. like precious gems from the earth, unearthed through persistent effort. Think of groundbreaking scientists like Marie Curie, whose relentless, almost obsessive pursuit of knowledge, even in the face of overwhelming skepticism, profound personal sacrifice, debilitating illness, and repeated experimental failures, ultimately led to paradigm-shifting discoveries that revolutionized medicine, physics, and our fundamental understanding of the universe. They didn't just stumble upon answers through sheer luck or intuition. They meticulously observed, tirelessly experimented, and learned with profound humility from every single result, good or bad, embracing each failure as an invaluable piece of data, a crucial step closer to profound truth and deeper understanding. For those of us on a committed, courageous path of trauma recovery, learning isn't just about accumulating intellectual facts or superficially intellectualizing our pain, attempting to understand it away. It's about internalizing profound, life-altering truths about the human condition and our own incredible, boundless capacity for radical transformation and healing. It could involve formally educating ourselves on the neuroscience of trauma, gaining a deep understanding of how our brains and bodies respond to stress, which can profoundly normalize our experience and empower us with genuine agency and informed choice, demystifying the complex biological responses to overwhelming events. It could be diligently learning new, healthier coping skills, mastering new communication strategies for more authentic, fulfilling relationships, or discovering new, gentle, yet powerful ways of regulating our often dysregulated nervous systems, bringing them back into a state of balance and peace. It could also be the profound, informal learning that comes from simply observing our own patterns, recognizing the triggers that lead to old, unhelpful reactions, and compassionately understanding the ingrained narratives we've constructed about ourselves over a lifetime. And then, courageously choosing to rewrite them, chapter by magnificent chapter, reclaiming our authorship. This isn't about blaming ourselves for past struggles or perceived shortcomings, which only perpetuates the cycle of pain and self-criticism. It's about taking radical, empowering ownership of our present and our boundless future capacity for profound growth and self-mastery. Every single day, with every conscious breath, every intentional moment of reflection, we have the profound opportunity to learn something new about ourselves, about our perceived limits, which are often self-imposed illusions, and about our infinite, untapped potential. This continuous, lifelong learning, this humble, courageous acceptance that we are always evolving, always in a dynamic state of becoming, creates an exquisitely fertile ground for deeper self-awareness, profound personal empowerment, and lays the unwavering groundwork for finally, truly, and joyfully beginning again. To begin again is not to erase the past, to wish away the scars, or to pretend that the pain, the loss, the trauma never existed, as if by sheer will you can rewrite history. On the contrary, it is a profound, courageous act of deep integration, a conscious, deliberate decision to carry the invaluable lessons learned forward without being permanently defined, tragically limited, or perpetually burdened by the shadows of the past. It's a powerful, almost sacred act of conscious creation, a bold, resounding declaration that despite the torrential storms you've weathered, the rocky ground you've hit, the devastating wreckage you've bravely navigated, your magnificent story is still passionately unfolding, and you, now infinitely wiser, undeniably stronger, and profoundly more compassionate, are the unwavering, empowered author of its next magnificent, unwritten chapters. This isn't about reaching some mythical, unattainable destination where all pain miraculously vanishes, where all challenges cease to exist, where life becomes effortlessly perfect. It's about courageously accepting that healing is a dynamic, fluid, non-linear process, a lifelong journey of continuous growth, profound integration, and ongoing, exhilarating transformation. Think of the mythical phoenix, rising majestically from the ashes, not as a creature that conveniently forgets its fiery past, for that would be a denial of its very essence, but as one that profoundly uses the very remnants of its destruction to fuel its glorious rebirth. Its new, powerful wings formed from the luminous essence of what was, from the lessons learned in the fire, the wisdom gathered from moments of profound despair, the unshakable strength forged in the crucible of loss, the crystalline clarity discovered in the brutal yet liberating absence of illusions. These become the foundational, indestructible elements of your new beginning, the very building blocks of a more authentic, more resilient, and ultimately, a more deeply meaningful and purpose-filled life. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You don't need to possess all the answers, nor do you need to command an unwavering, indomitable sense of courage every single moment of every single day. You simply need to be willing to take one small, intentional, courageous step, then another, even when your knees tremble, when doubt whispers its insidious lies, and when the path ahead seems shrouded in uncertainty. This beginning is not a singular, monumental event, a sudden, dramatic shift. It's a profound, organic process, a series of conscious, compassionate, and courageous choices made day after day, sometimes hour after hour, sometimes minute after minute. In the quiet solitude of your own heart, it's the unwavering choice to believe in your own inherent, limitless capacity for radical renewal, even when doubt whispers its insidious lies, attempting to pull you back into the familiar, suffocating shadows of the past. It's the profound choice to extend radical, unwavering compassion to yourself, recognizing with piercing clarity that healing is not linear, that setbacks are simply an intrinsic part of the journey, not signals of failure, and that your humanity, in all its messy, glorious complexity, includes both profound triumph and exquisite vulnerability. It's the courageous, audacious choice to define your own meaning, to painstakingly build a life that is authentically aligned with who you are now, in this moment of profound transformation, not who you were before the storm, not who you were expected to be by others, but the real, raw, powerful, and magnificent you that has bravely emerged from the depths. Your scars are not signs of weakness or indelible proof of brokenness. They are luminous, shimmering badges of honor, tangible, undeniable testaments to the profound battles you have fought, the immense pain you have bravely endured, and the glorious victories you have hard won and profoundly survived. They are constant, powerful reminders of your incredible, boundless capacity to endure, to adapt, to integrate, and to ultimately thrive beyond anything you ever thought possible, beyond anything you were told was possible. The world, in its vast, intricate tapestry, is waiting with bated breath for your unique contribution, for the profound wisdom born of your singular, arduous journey, and for the unyielding, unshakable strength you have meticulously cultivated in the deepest valleys of your experience. You are not broken. You are bravely, beautifully, and powerfully becoming, day by exhilarating day, and your greatest story, the one born from the very depths of your trials and tribulations, is waiting, patiently and eagerly, to be written, one courageous, intentional act at a time. The time for waiting for perfection is unequivocally over. The time for living, for creating, for truly beginning is powerfully, unequivocally, vibrantly now.